Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Tonight on Houselights, we open our Tim Burton section of the Wing of Batman with Batman from 1989, the movie that made the summer blockbuster a cultural event and taught a generation that Bruce Wayne could brood, Gotham could be gothic, and Danny Elfman's theme could live permanently in your skull. It's noir mood piece with a bat symbol in the sky, and it still holds up. Then, because one dark Batman movie apparently wasn't enough, we follow it with Batman Returns from 1992, in which Burton got more money, more control, and significantly less oversight, and used all of it to make a movie about a woman thrown out of a window who comes back leather-clad and furious, a man raised by penguins seeking revenge on a city that is correctly disgusted by him, and Christopher Walken with hair that has its own agenda. With me, ready to argue this is somehow a Christmas movie and mean it, Darren Moser, and playing Alfred to the whole thing dutifully along with the ride while quietly wondering what happened to the first movie's restraint, John Mills. Wing of Batman means Michael Keaton remains criminally underrated as Bruce Wayne. Jack Nicholson makes the Joker terrifying and hilarious at once, and Burton fully abandons any pretense of tone by the sequel. Let's grapple hook off a roof, ask why the penguin's mouth is doing that, and figure out how he got those wonderful toys. This is Houselights.
Do you honestly think you're insulting me by saying I'm Alfred when I would kill for hair like that? Come on. Michael Goff's hair is amazing.
What? Who said that was an insult?
Well, I mean, you're saying I'm the servant of the podcast here. And
no, I'm saying you're the old man. You're the steady hand.
I know, but I was suddenly jumping ahead to Batman and Robin. I was outraged the way Alicia Silverstone will be after her uncle subjugated himself to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, don't jump ahead. Jump ahead.
Sorry, I'll jump back. I'm good. Okay.
So I am super excited to talk about this. We have actually talked about Batman 89 on this podcast before, but it was a very long time ago. We did a special episode about the movies that kind of raised us, like the movies that meant a lot to us. And 89 was one that I picked. And John, I can't remember if you picked it as well.
I would be surprised if I didn't, but you're also asking an old man to recall what he picked. And well, that's just not going to go well.
So
yeah.
Just some real quick facts about 89, because we'll start with 89 and then we'll move on to 82. 92, but we might flip-flop back and forth. But so it was released in June of 89. It's 126 minutes. The allocated budget was $30 million, but then during production, it bumped up to $48 million. That is a lot of money back then. And it was partly because of the writer's strike that was going on. And even though it was $48 million, it earned over $400 million worldwide in 1989 money. That's insane.
Yeah, it was. And the thing is with the budget thing, that was covered up big time back then. The reported budget, I remember this specifically from like Entertainment Tonight or something like that. There was outrage because it cost $33 million was what they were reporting before the movie came out. And I'm sure they hit cost overruns and stuff like that. And they're like, but that's not even including the marketing. And as somebody who lived through the marketing, it was comical everywhere. That bat symbol was everywhere. Like you expected to lift up the lid of your toilet and see the bat symbol. It was everywhere. And I think that what's brain breaking about it is everybody was up in arms about the fact that it costs, we all believe it was like in the 30s, right? And you flash forward to T2, which is 2 years from now, and that broke $100 million reported budget. And it's like, it just basically, it almost became an arms race from this point forward for people to spend money on their movie. Like this is the point in time in my brain where it seemed like people were like, okay, you know what? We're just going to throw stacks of cash at the production and it's just going to guarantee us a hit sort of thing.
Well, and it kind of started to flip. Like, yeah, I agree, John. It shifted to big budget didn't mean mismanagement. It meant not quality. I'm not going to go that far, but like expectation. There became an audience expectation of, oh, now we're reporting high numbers. People aren't saying, oh, well, I can't believe they spent that. They're like, oh my gosh, they spent that. I want to go see that. That was a paradigm
It was a flex.
Shift.
Yeah, it was a flex. But I also blame Canon Films because Canon Films, active in the 80s, in the time period leading up to this would drive dump trucks of money up to the stars. And their movies were always bad, but they'd be like, hey, Sylvester Stallone, you want to play something about an arm wrestler? Here's $20 million. And Sly was like, oh, okay, that's fine. And it's like, you get over the top after that. And so I think that's just the atmosphere it was in. But, I think that the real challenge with talking about the 1989 Batman is what is there left to say about it? Because it's like talking about Star Wars. It's like, are you going to talk about how much everybody hated that Keaton was cast? Like, people were outraged that Michael Keaton was cast because they were... It's fun to go back because everybody loves to talk now about how brutal fans can be and how judgmental and how they're, this and that. And it's like, I hate to break it to you, but you go back to this. And this is the same time period where people were outraged about Jean-Luc Picard replacing Captain Kirk and stuff like that. It's just tale as old as time. People were, my brother was I was still younger. My brother was a huge Batman fan. It's his comic book collection that got me into Batman. And my brother was not optimistic about Michael Keaton. It was like, that guy, Beetlejuice, Mr. Mom is going to play Batman? How the hell is this going to work? So,
yeah, that's why I really want to focus on, this is a director-focused podcast. And John, I think that's a wonderful thing to bring up and talk about because what is there more to talk about? Like, we all know about the Keaton controversy. We all know about Palance being an ass on set. We know about Sean Young, breaking her collarbone, who, before she was going to be able to be Vicky Vale and then showing up in costume, trying to be Catwoman, everything like that. We know all the stories. We know all of these. But I want to talk about, how Burton went from Beetlejuice to Batman. And we all know Beetlejuice really well. We all know Batman really well. I want to know from that perspective, where do you see Burton in 1989's Batman after seeing Beetlejuice? Darren, do you have an opinion on that? Like, could you figure out yeah, that's the Beetlejuice guy?
Yeah, I think the fact that this movie made a world, like, that is a very Tim Burton thing. Beetlejuice, it's the underworld that he's creating. Our world is pretty normal, except for, the house looks a little weird, but it's not that strange. Whereas with Batman, and not the first time. Obviously movies have made worlds before, but we're starting to see, okay, like we talked about last week, Gotham is now Gotham. It has a flavor and a vibe that is so strong and impacting. It imprints and carries through even past Burton. He is casting the mold for what this world looks like. And it's not going to, I don't think really until Nolan are we going to see any sort of real refresh take on the city in a large sense. But yeah, that's where I see Burton is just creating that world of Batman. Obviously there's cars, there's police, there's everyday things, but you get swept into this city, into this place. And I think rightfully so, he's recognizing that the world that Batman exhibits and lives in is almost as important as the character himself. Because if you can buy the world, then you can believe, eventually, falling out a 20-story window or whatever and surviving. Like having a gun as long as your pants and it's not, you're still able to walk. All those little things you kind of just can hand wave because you're locked in once that signal hits the sky, and it's a fun ride.
I will offer that I don't necessarily see Beetlejuice except in certain animation usages here. I see that visual sensibility reflected. What I see is I see a Batman movie that's done by the guy who did Pee-wee's Big Adventure. That's what I really see. From Joker's suit to, Batman's suit too. This looks like the type of direction that I would expect. And the thing is, that's not me throwing shade, because I think Pee-wee's Big Adventure it's an explosion of beautiful creativity. I think it's just wonderful. And I think that just the way that the contraptions are built, the props, I see Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and I guess by extension, I see some Beetlejuice in there as well. The makeup for Joker, I see a Beetlejuice sensibility in that, because it's disturbing and silly. Like it's obviously like a demented take on Joker. Like the way that the cheeks are. I know that, did they ever go into how they did the makeup? Because I recall at the time there was some sort of thing where Nicholson said you just can't tell people how you did the makeup or something. Like, I'm sure it was all hype or something like that, but like they wouldn't talk about how they did the makeup, even though Driving Miss Daisy beat it out, which, okay, sure. And I think that that's the thing is I see the guy who did Pee-wee's Big Adventure and by extension Beetlejuice coming into this movie. And it's really the animation elements, the way that looks I see from Beetlejuice, the props and costuming sensibility from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. But then that same director of those two movies loves to sneak in the Dutch angle and the silly moment. That big reveal of the Batmobile that's done with the same sort of loving camera work of revealing Pee-wee's bike and stuff like that.
Like that. I really like that parallel that you drew. And it's a very honest and real take without, trying to be silly. Like I have a hard time seeing it. I really do. Because I feel like this is probably, in my opinion, and I'm not saying I'm right, is the least Burton film I've ever seen. Because when you look at Beetlejuice, when you look at Pee-wee, when you look at anything that came after Returns, you're like, okay, this Burton. I kind of feel like when Returns came out, I felt like, oh, this is like when Wes Anderson realized he was Wes Anderson. I feel like Returns is when Burton realized he's Tim Burton. And with 89, I it's just something about it that just feels like Batman 89. It feels like its own thing. It's something that I'm not saying anybody could do it. I'm not saying that at all. And I'm not trying to take it away from Burton. I think it's one of those things where he looked outside of himself and utilized utilized his skill and intelligence to get it done. But we also see that there was some producer, John, there was some producer who is basically the entire reason why we have the cathedral scene.
Oh, what was it? Uslan? Was he? No, because Michael Uslan is a producer. There was Peters. There's Goober. I mean, John Peters and Peter Goober.
Peters. It was Peters.
Peters. Okay. But see, the thing is, what I think is, I think that the restraint that is put on Burton's visual sensibility, because I think you're right. 89 weird in terms of Burton's filmography. I can look at Returns and I see more Tim Burton than I see anything else. I think anybody on earth would agree with that. I think, in all honesty, it's Roger Pratt tamps down on some of the zanier elements, visual elements. And I mean, Roger Pratt is an absolutely, he shot Brazil. He shot The Fisher King. He shot Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, directed by Kenneth Branagh. 12 Monkeys. Like you can see there's a visual sensibility. He shot Troy, which I know you love, Tristan. So
I do, unabashedly. I don't care what people say.
And so I think that what it is you see Burton through, no pun intended, the lens of a DP that isn't his typical DP. He's working with a different DP. I think he has somebody working the camera who's there, not in a bad way to restrain Burton, but to help him and say, listen, you're cool. I also know what's going to make the studio happy and going to look good, and we can get a little of what you're going for here. And I think that Burton is helped greatly by Pratt's presence. I really, really do.
I didn't realize that, because you're right, because his cinematography for Returns with Stefan, Stefan also does Ed Wood with him, did Edward Scissorhands. So he's more of that Burton flavor. Mm-hmm. And it's an interesting take you're discussing, Tristan, because I would say most people, when they're saying Batman 89, like they're always going to put that qualifier of like made by Tim Burton on it. But you're right, it does not feel like. I wonder what Batman would look. It's like, what would Batman look like if made by Tim Burton? And the mind of Tim Burton is not this movie.
But no, the answer is Returns.
Yeah, mm-hmm. This is the movie that Tim Burton made. But yeah, you're right. It's because we've seen many takes that he's done on things, and there is definitely, there's not nearly enough pinstripes in this movie, for sure. For one, But it is obviously Tim Burton, but I kind of agree with you. It's the least Tim Burton-y Tim Burton that we see. But Batman as itself is so powerful. Like, it still rides. It doesn't need a Tim Burton shot in the arm to become something. It's already there.
Well, I think also the base script that he's working with, I think I said this probably the last time we talked about it. I think everybody has always approached this as if they wrote a PG Batman movie and then Burton made it PG-13 with his zaniness. And I am absolutely, nobody will ever argue me out of this. He was given an R-rated script, and then Tim Burton's sensibility made it PG-13. Because there is stuff where, like, if you really pay attention to like what the Joker is doing and stuff like that, if it's edited or shot just a little bit differently, you're like, oh no! Like when he kills the guy on the steps with the pen, that's actually kind of horrifying. But the way Burton does it is very theatrical and it's very big, and so it's less threatening. And electrocuting people and all of the way, like the way he kills Grissom is really dark. And I think that it's Burton makes it a little, in a very positive way, makes it a little sillier so that it doesn't get that R rating. It's got a sensibility where they're like, oh, this is dark, but this is PG-13 dark, not disturbing to your children dark,
And in 89, dark PG-13 was like, I don't think this would be rated PG-13 today. No, okay, so I'm not alone in that?
No, I agree with you.
Okay, because we've joked, like longtime listeners of the show know that my dad showed me this film, and he basically fast forwarded all the parts that he didn't want me to see. And even though this was a PG-13 film, it was basically like a 90-minute movie by the time he was done with it.
Well, the thing is, I don't know. Like, I would go back and forth on that because, again, my parents failed to put any restraints on me. So my entire lens on that is completely out of whack. I frequently talk about the fact I was watching stuff I shouldn't. Like, when I was 8, I was watching R-rated movies. And so I'm completely skewed. What I can tell you is between these two, my, at the time, 9-year-old, fine with this one. Totally worked fine for her. Now, again, keep in mind who her dad is. And she could not get through Returns. And I think that's the sort of thing that is weird because you go over to Returns, and when I saw Returns back in the theater, I was old enough, people were upset. They were like, oh, I can't take my kid to go see this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This movie's fine. Finally watching it with a kid who was disturbed by Penguin, I was like, oh, I get what those parents were mad about because Batman is enough of a cultural force that when Batman Returns comes out, every kid in the world, Mom, Dad, you got to take me to go see this movie. And it's, oh, well, you know what?
Do we not forget the Happy Meal toys? There were lots of Happy Meal toys for Batman Returns. Like,
well, and that's the thing is that when Batman Returns came out, apparently toy makers and McDonald's and everybody like that was super pissed that we go from 89, which you can have the Joker, you can have Batman, you can have Alfred, whatever. And then you get to Returns and they're super, like these people are like, how are we supposed to market this? How are we supposed to make toys? How are we supposed to make Happy Meals? How are we supposed to do this when the Penguin looks so freaking gross? And that's the thing is that like these blockbuster movies, I mean, like 89 kind of, I think, coined the term. Where like it's merchandise. Like John, you were telling me like there's a reason why we're getting so many Toy Story films is so that they can pump up the rides at Disneyland. And the reason why we're going to get more than one Frozen movie is because the merchandise sells like crazy. I'm sorry, folks, if you're just now realizing this.
Right. This is a lesson in economics with Houselights.
Like that's what it is. That's why Batman was this way. And you have give and take because you got to think about the ecosystem of merchandising mixed with films. And Returns was a hit on that. And it's interesting because my parent, because like I was one of those kids that was screaming for my parents to take me to Returns because I loved 89 when I was a wee lad. I was way too young to watch it. And then when in 92, when it came out, I was like, take me. And they're like, no, not on your life. We're going to go see it first. And they came back home and my parents were just bereft, I think is the best word to use. They're just like, we almost walked out. Batman's hardly in it. The Penguin is disgusting. It's not, like it's just not interesting. Like they were just like, I could probably count on one, as a gigantic Batman fan as I am, I could probably count on one hand how many times I've seen this movie from beginning to end. Returns, that is.
See, it's so weird for me because Returns, I go back and forth. When it first came out, it came out at a time that I really responded to it. And I think it's because I was having a hard time. So Burton's sensibilities, he wants to make that movie about Penguin. He loves Penguin. He is all about Penguin. And Batman is in it because he has to be. He would have preferred to make a Penguin movie. And just to have Batman show up at the end and be like, "You're totally justified, Penguin, and I support you." And it's like, that's the thing that is toughest about Returns is I go through this cycle of loving it and not loving it. I'll never hate it. I'll never go away from it. I'll never turn my back on it. But there are times where I watch it and I'm like, this movie sucks. I don't like the way it's shot. Everything looks like a set. What happened to the first movie? Why is everything so bright? Why are there statues everywhere? Like, it's real, and it points the direction, whether people want to realize it or not. It's already pointing the direction towards Schumacher and Batman Returns. It's already pointing clearly in that direction. And Burton, I think, with Returns, proves that the 1989 Batman should have been a one-time thing for him. And he should have gone off and been a producer and not touched another Batman. And I think it's wild because Returns is Burton's making a Penguin movie, and then there's a pretty interesting Batman Catwoman storyline going on to the side of it. And the real killer of it for me, and I think a director with somebody else sitting next to him, maybe whispering in his ear and being like, I don't know, this is the best idea. Max Schreck is not in that movie. Max Schreck is, its character bloat happens so massively in Batman Returns. I remember that's always been, going all the way back, the biggest complaint that so many of my friends had about it was there are too many characters. Why are there so many villains? Like, the first one is one villain, one bad guy. And instead you have 3 villains and a good guy in Returns. And it's like, why are you cramming so much into this movie?
Would it be our first case of antagonist confusion instead of protagonist?
Yeah, maybe so.
Well, to be, I feel like Shrek shouldn't have been in this movie. Honestly, it's just like, even though I like him, I think he's entertaining. I mean, Walken is awesome. Walken is Walken. But I feel like this should have been a Batman Catwoman film, and with Penguin as the antagonist. Like, you have Penguin as the antagonist and Catwoman as the anti-hero, and then Batman as the hero. And I don't have
a little
fleshed
better because that
balanced better,
you
basically, yeah.
Yeah, the Penguin's in the background. He's the force of nature whirling around Gotham, and we're focused on the interpersonal, Bat and Cat story in the forefront, but that's not what we got. That is not the forefront. That is the background.
Well, and I think that there are so many things where, to your point, Tristan, I think you could have taken Penguin and Shrek and made them one character. And you could have had Penguin be revealed like the Penguin is the logo of his store, and you find out he's been behind the scenes manipulating all of this stuff, and he's the real villain, and that's the big reveal at the end because Batman's been distracted by Catwoman. And boom, and then you have your big fight at the end.
Yeah. Or the reclusive CEO no one sees for decades, and then you realize, it's been him the whole time, or something. Yeah, you
and
could
then
easily fold that
golden
character
tickets
into that.
Right. Yes. And Batman gets a tour of his factory. No, I don't know. It's fascinating because there is so much that I genuinely like, and everybody shows up to Returns excited, except for Keaton. Michelle Pfeiffer is excited to be there. Danny DeVito is just absolutely excited to be there. Christopher Walken isn't sure how he got invited, but he's having a great time like he always does. And Keaton is not helped by his director in Returns. Keaton is bringing what he can, and the director, it feels like the director is behind the camera, half interested in what he's offering. And I'm like, he's right there. He's doing his thing. He's so good. Why are you not paying more attention to him? So that's my take on it.
So I want to know, when it comes to 89, what do you think about? Like, if, like, Darren, when someone says, hey, Batman 1989, what's the first thing that pops into your brain?
It's the Batmobile. It's so...
Great answer.
It's so iconic. It's just everything about it. Though it's shot amazingly. Like, it's black and it's weird. Like, if you super dissect it, it's kind of weird. It's got like these fins on the back, and why does it have a jet engine? I mean, we know why, but it's just, we're seeing just that maturity of everything, from the way we get into the Batcave to, like, I'm just flashing back to 66 now, and like, they had the Batcave, they had the Batmobile, they had all these elements, but boy, was it different. But yeah, just, it was so, now I'm trying to remember, was that Diet Coke commercial Batman or Batman Returns, where he's like going to go pick up Diet Coke?
No, Batman. There was a
Batman
commercial
tie-in. Okay.
for the Diet Coke.
I remember that one. Yeah, where it's all stock footage, from the movie as he's driving down the country lane on his way to pick up some Diet Coke, which I still think is funny.
Alfred was on the phone. Batman was driving. You were seeing him intercut, and Alfred was on the phone saying he would be back momentarily. He was out, and then at the end of it, he's drinking a Diet Coke. That was the ad. And it was put in front of the video on the VHS videotape that released earlier than any other VHS videotape had ever been released. And I just about drove the local video store guy out of his mind, because the day it was supposed to be released, I was like calling every hour. I was like, is it in yet? Is it in yet? I pre-ordered it. Is it in yet?
Mr. Mills, please stop calling.
Yeah, right. But, Returns, I think, is overhated. I really do. I mean, Tristan, it breaks my heart to hear that you've watched it so infrequently, because I think there is good stuff in there. This is one of those times where I rewatched it and I enjoyed it much more than I did the previous time. Like, so I get the ebb and flow, but there's enough interesting stuff that I can't hate it. I can't dislike it.
Okay, well, props for Returns. My gosh, the model work on Returns is amazing. Like,
Darren, I'm so glad that you brought that up. And I want you to hold on to that thought.
I'm holding.
So 89 had model work, a lot of model work. Returns had model work. But here's the thing about 89. When you realize it's model work, all the magic goes out the window. But with Returns, I feel like the model work holds up a little bit more. Darren, what do you think?
No, you nailed it. I mean, the opening pan, just as you're going over you're leaving the mansion and going over the river and off to the, torn down park.
The zoo.
The zoo. It's just, you forget for a moment it's a model, and until your brain starts to go, where was this shot? And then you're like, oh, obviously it's a model, but it's so beautifully done. All the animatronic work with the penguins. I will take an animatronic stiff penguin over, nowadays they would all be CG penguins and it would look like garbage. It would look terrible. But yeah, this is still in the realm of practical, where everything is visceral and real. And, again, I don't know why Penguin had a small Batmobile kiddie ride to ride in. I don't know who built that, who commissioned that, who smuggled that into a van. I don't even care.
I think that's what John astutely remarks on, about how, like, there's not a wide gap between Batman Returns and Batman Forever. It's really not that wide of a gap that people make it out to be.
That's like a frame out of a comic. Like, and then Penguin got in this. Like, if it was a comic, we wouldn't even blink twice.
They painted themselves into a box with the 1989 Batman, because that one was a declaration. This is a Batman you can believe exists in this world. Batman Returns, that Batman cannot exist in the real world. Can't. It's impossible. I can't square that with reality the way I can the 1989 Batman. The 1989 Batman, that Gotham, that's New York in the 80s. Like, all the way down to the fact that the mayor was basically Ed Koch. Like, he looks and talks like Ed Koch. And it's like, oh, yeah, I recognize all of this and all the rampant crime and everything like that. It's just, and then, I mean, one of the things that just annoys the living hell out of me about Batman Returns, and really jumped out at me this time, is, I mean, every time I watch it, is they keep reusing the same sets.
Oh,
and it just drives me up a wall.
Batman Returns is so claustrophobic.
Yes.
It literally boxes you in, and you're aware that you're watching it on a set. You're aware that you're watching it at a warehouse. It's like those old 1940s and 50s pictures, like those old musicals that were all in a soundstage. And you were on a soundstage. You didn't really care. Like, you're watching Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, and the background is just like 5 feet away from the dancers, and you're just like, whatever, it doesn't matter. But with Batman Returns, it does matter, because in 89, it felt like you were outside. It felt expansive. It's just like the Gotham that you saw in 89 felt like a separate place, but yet something that they lived in. Returns, Gotham felt like something that was on a soundstage. I feel like Gotham 89 is to Batman that The Dark Knight in 2008 is to Batman. Like when you look at the realism, the quote unquote realism, because I feel like 89 doesn't get enough credit for the realism personally.
Well, I think there's also the production design of Anton Furst in the first film is just like Roger Pratt lensing it. Like Anton Furst, if I recall correctly, was also the production designer for Full Metal Jacket. And it's like, well, goodness gracious, right? You coming at it with the big guns there. I don't remember who the production designer for Returns was, but it was not the same. I think Furst was dead by then. I think he died of cancer, but like, and if I got that wrong, I apologize. That's just what my memory is telling me. But like, I know that Furst did not come back for Returns. And I think you definitely miss him because Furst's sensibilities were very, 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 very key to what worked. I mean, the thing is, though, I still come back to the fact that I think that Returns is overhated because I think that for all of its flaws, I think it has a beautiful operatic ending. One that actually, I think, really just, obviously everything's subjective, but the ending of Returns still hits heavy because Burton successfully makes you feel bad for Penguin, a literal monster who was going to blow up the city and kidnap children. But you realize that you still feel sad at the end because was Penguin just screwed from the beginning? Because he didn't have Alfred. He didn't have a loving environment. Now, Burton sort of undercuts himself in the beginning by showing the baby penguin eating the house cat. So you're kind of like, well, that's not really an environment thing. That's more of a born monster thing. So you want it both ways. But if you can separate out that opener with Paul Rubens in his first role post-controversy, I think that the music's really beautiful. I think what happens with Selena Kyle, like Michelle Pfeiffer she's so invested in the role. She's so good as Selena Kyle. Like you feel so bad for her. And the frustrating thing about it is that there is an element there making a really strong statement about how far can you push a good woman in this awful system before she snaps, before she breaks. Like she's treated like an idiot child, before Shrek even attempts to kill her. And it's like, it's just,
her crash out is one of the best sequences where she's just done and just graffitiing her own wall, breaking and the music. Like you're just like, oh,
yes, the music. Yeah,
it's such a great sequence.
Let's talk about the music as a segue. But I also, before we do, I just want to say that I love the superhero trope about how whenever somebody becomes a villain or somebody becomes a superhero, they automatically become the best seamstress in the world. They just
by themselves.
By themselves, they can make their own Spidey suit. They can make their own Catwoman suit.
Also,
part of the game.
Martial arts. There's a gene that when you become a supervillain or a superhero, the martial arts gene activates and you become an excellent fighter and acrobat. Yes.
I mean, it's just science.
Yeah.
So music, Elfman. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So last week we talked about the impact of Batman 66 and how the camp, the colors, the style, all of it reverberated out through history. And we're still feeling it today. I feel like Elfman's music does that even more so than anything else in the movie. Because if you think about Batman the Animated Series, that intro, one of the greatest TV intros of all time, uses that music. And all the music that was made is made in the same style as an Elfman. It's like a 3-season homage to Elfman. You even hear it in Justice League, directed by Joss Whedon. And, you hear it in a multitude of video games that were made afterwards. It's just like that is the definitive Batman theme, even more so than I think Batman 66. And definitely more than anything that came after 89. Am I overstating it? What do you guys think about Elfman's music here?
Elfman's music is, to borrow from the legendary Joey, he correctly highlighted, this score is Edward Scissorhands and 1989 Batman score had a baby, and it was this score. And I say it by means of compliment because I loved the music in Edward Scissorhands. I thought it was beautiful. And I think that this operatic music is very fitting to what's going on screen. And to your point, Tristan, I think it elevates it. It makes me want to forgive any shortcomings because the cues in this are great. Like the music that opens with Oswald Cobblepot's origin story is fantastic. I mean, still, I remember sitting down in the movie theater and getting chills when that first note hit, where I was like, oh yeah, we're back, baby. And, that organ comes up and then like the big Batman Returns gets revealed as it's going, as the carriage is going through the sewer. And I mean, I think it would be safe to say that Elfman's score does a lot of heavy lifting in this movie.
It's one of those things that sticks with you, absolutely. And I have a big soft spot for Elfman. I know that he gets a lot of hate in recent years. Besides the personal stuff that we're not going to talk about, but the his work has kind of been derided a lot, and people often forget the basis, the foundation of what he worked on. Like what would Pee-wee be without Elfman? What would Beetlejuice be without Elfman? I mean, even though Planet of the Apes was not a good movie, the Burton one, the music itself was spot on.
Nightmare Before Christmas. You can't.
Good Lord. That's got to be his opus is Nightmare Before Christmas. And it's just like this guy has an indelible mark when it comes to composing. And I feel like he gets often overlooked because you have people like Zimmer or Howard.
Well, I think that Elfman is a great composer, but the time for a composer like Elfman is passing. And I don't mean that as an insult to the scores that he's made. I just think that everybody's sensibilities have moved on. Like, I think movie scores as a whole, they have eras to them. And very rarely do you have somebody like, inevitably his name comes up, like John Williams can go from Jurassic Park to Schindler's List in the same year. That's lightning in a bottle, folks. That's not everybody. And Elfman, his music is great for what it is and the time it belongs to. And that's not a bad thing. And here's the ultimate question. You're going and you have the completely uncut version of the Batman 89 and Batman Returns score. Which one is going on? You can only play one of them. Which one are you turning on?
89, hands down.
Darren?
Yeah, I'd say 89. Really, I'd more play the game. Let's mix them up into a playlist and try to guess which one's which as you're listening, because
that's no problem.
Not that they're not distinct, but they complement each other really well.
I think that I'll always go for 89 because there are certain cues on it that still make me excited and happy. Charge of the Batmobile still will get me going. That's
gotta get that Diet Coke.
But
wait, is that the one? I'm terrible with names, but is that the one where he's taking Vicky Vale to the
No, Charge of the
cave?
Batmobile is when he goes in and he blows up Axis Chemicals.
Yes,
that's a great one. But
work.
also, I will give you that. The cue from when he's taking Vicky Vale to the Batcave is amazing. I think what's even more interesting is I think that the first Batman. I'll come back because this is the inevitable part of the conversation about Christmas movie. But the first Batman comes out in the summer, but I love watching that movie in the fall. That's a fall movie to me. That movie belongs in the fall. Things are a little bit darker. It's a little bit chillier. It's all of those sorts of things. I will always love watching that movie in the fall. Batman Returns is not a Christmas movie. And I think even though it's set at Christmas, it's not tied to a specific time to watch for me. Am I alone in that? Like, I have a specific, stronger reaction to 89 Batman in the fall. Batman Returns, I can watch it any time, and even though it's set at Christmas, I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. I think it's largely because the set looks like a set, and it's not satisfying. And actually, the fake snow drives me insane when you see them driving in it, because I'm like, it's soap. But, like, it is one of those things where I mean, do you guys have a favorite era? Like, is it a Christmas movie for you? Is Batman Returns a Christmas movie? Do you put it on right after the holiday, Darren? Is it the holiday, then
No.
Batman Returns?
Absolutely not. No, I mean, we've talked about this, but yeah, it's like a level 2 Christmas movie where it's set at Christmas, but it is not an impact on the story whatever. And that's fine. That's interesting. I honestly can say I do not watch Batman movies at certain times of years for certain reasons. It just is not on my. It's more like, I want to watch that Batmobile again and put that in.
Well, don't get me wrong. I watched the 89 Batman at the drop of a hat, but I respond best to it in the fall. I just think it works the best there. What about you, Tristan?
I don't really have a time of the year that I feel like I need to watch 89. I'm kind of like you where I could watch it anytime. Batman Returns, while I don't consider it a Christmas movie, this is going to sound really hypocritical, but while I don't consider it a Christmas movie, the thing that I remember most from it is the Christmas aspect. So I just, if Schindler were here, friend of the network, and former host, you can find his stuff on thenerdparty.com, he would hardcore defend that this is a Christmas movie.
He'd be wrong, but he would hardcore defend it. Absolutely. I do want to take a minute, though, because everybody on the planet loves to point out that William Hootkins, Red Six, Porkins from Star Wars plays Eckhart. But you gentlemen, of course, know the other Star Wars pilot who appears in the 1989 Batman, right? Of course you do.
I hate that I've never made that connection.
Really?
Oh yeah, no, he's a very recognizable actor. At least in that role.
Hootkins. I remember when I figured that out on like my fourth viewing when I was 15. I'm sitting there and I'm like, William Hootkins. Well, I know that name. Like all the way back then, I was like, I know there's something important, but do you know who the other Star Wars pilot is?
Tristan, I'm going to blow your mind right now. Did you know that Harvey Dent is Lando Calrissian?
Okay, if you're not going to take this seriously,
that's not fair.
If you're just going to make stuff up, okay, then I'm just going to leave.
We all know Harvey Dent is Tommy Lee Jones. I think that what truly blows my mind, because I forget it all the time, is that Garrick Hagen, Biggs Darklighter, is the dad in the beginning who is telling his kid, put that thing away. We're tourists.
Had no idea. You're blowing my mind, Frank. That is amazing.
Yeah, that is Garrick Hagen.
I know where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Wing of Batman, Burton era. It's funny because, like with even though we're a director-focused podcast, the first episode we consider it the West era. But then when we get into this, it's like, no, we're not calling it the Keaton era, even though we could. I feel like we could. We're calling it the Burton era. So I want to hear your guys' ratings for 89 and then 82 per custom. Darren, I'm starting with you. Did I say 82? I meant 92.
Yeah, I that's why I frowned at you for your time discrepancy. All right. Yes. Gosh, these ones, 89 always gets a little bump from me just because, as it says in its Wikipedia article, it spawned 3 sequels. Like we're still, 89 is not really that deep in the era of things will get sequels. Things will continue on. Remember Empire Strikes Back was kind of the outlier around, 1980. Like the sequel was the get the band back together and it's kind of the same as the first movie. And we're slowly moving away from that. So, we get Returns, we get, which I really agree with all of you. That is kind of just a Penguin movie with Batman tapped on. But all that to say, 89, just for what it establishes for the Joker performance, the visual language, 89 flew so that Batman later could own the night. So I'm giving 89 a 5. For Return, I know, shocker. We love Batman and we're giving for Return, yeah, it's a harder place because it does have its flaws. I don't feel I see them as much. I'm not as much of the Batman aficionado as you guys are, so I'm just kind of enjoying it. But yeah, I can see the sets a bit. It reminds me of like early TNG when you watch it again and you're like, it's not quite holding up like your golden memory of was when you first watched it. So I'm going to give Returns a 3 overall. I think and all of these have great pieces. I love the Bat Missile. I love how they shot the Bat Missile. I want a side comic about some Gotham PD officer who finds the discarded pieces of the Bat Missile, because that's the Batmobile that shed 80% of it in that alley. It's still there unless somebody went and picked it up. So yes, all that to say, 5 and a 3 from me.
Well, I'll point out that Nolan, might have been inspired for the Bat Pod by what happens in Batman Returns. I'm just saying they wreck the Batmobile, and he has
it's
basically
like poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah, exactly right.
I thought that was deliberate. Isn't that kind of the deal?
Is it? I've never seen anything where he said that it was deliberate, so I have no idea. Maybe it was, but I can say that the 89 Batman, there were a number of years where I would give it like a 4.5, because it's like, I don't want to come across as, you're always looking for the flaws, because you don't want people to come at you and be like, oh, you're a fanboy. You just love Batman too much. You know what? Yeah, I do. But 89's Batman, I don't know if I can ever even view it honestly because of what an impact it had on me, but it's a 5. It's everything coming together right. I still remember the first time I saw it, almost being so overwhelmed I didn't know what to think. And then at the end, when the music is swelling and it goes up and it reveals him standing there with the bat signal in the background, and you just wanted to get, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about the shot and the music cue right now. You wanted to stand up and be like, yeah, I want to go pay $3 and see this again. And it's so it's a 5. Batman Returns, I used to love, then I used to dislike, then I thought it was mediocre. On this latest viewing, I give it a 3.5. Usually I'd say you could probably average me out to a 3, but the transfer on this latest edition is better than the transfer for the 89 Batman, puzzling at best.
By a country mile.
It's really weird. I think whoever did the transfer on the 4K for the 1989 Batman should be flogged and fired, because it's got everybody's skin has that weird soft glowy wax quality. They look like they're going to melt. It's
definitely waxy.
It's awful.
Extreme oranges, extreme blues, but Returns looks good.
Returns was beautiful. But yeah, I'll give it a 3.5. Although, man, it will always there's some timeline where we got Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent turning into Two-Face, and boy, I would have loved to see that sequel, man.
Honorable mention to the things that exist in the Keaton universe, because there is a really nice comic book that exists where we see Billy D, at least in illustrated form, as Two-Face.
Yes.
And also 2 really awesome novels written by Joshua Jackson Miller. Did I get that right?
John Jackson Miller.
Thank you. Joshua Jackson is somebody else. John Jackson Miller. Batman
Resurrection. It's Batman Resurrection and Batman Revolution. Both really excellent works.
Really excellent work. This guy nails Keaton's voice. It really feels like you are thrown into the Burton verse. You're thrown into Keaton as Batman. It feels like a true extension. It feels like novels that would have come out between 1989 and 1992.
And actually, as an honorable mention, I will say it might be why I'm reacting to Returns better, because they take place between 89 and 92, and you get more Max Schreck development, and you get more of the Keaton Batman universe development. And I think, honestly, the written word may be improving my esteem for Batman Returns as a result.
And it enhances the Wayne-Schreck relationship.
Yes, it does.
When you see Wayne going to that boardroom and throwing that report to Schreck, it feels like there's more history behind it because of Miller.
Yep.
So I cannot recommend his books enough. Honestly, they're quite good. And Miller, if you're listening to this, or whomever, Penguin Random House, I don't know who publishes it. If you guys are listening, please let him continue post Returns.
Please. Yes.
Please let him go post Returns.
Let us start erasing the memory of what came after.
Well, I'm not going to go that far. But what I will say is that I'm with you guys where 89 5 stars. Nothing more needs to be said. It's great. It's awesome. It's fun. It's nostalgic. It's warm. It's macaroni and cheese for the soul is what it is. I love it so dearly. And it has strong ties to my father. I will show it to my kids as soon as they're old enough. And it's something that you pass down. Returns, I don't like it. I'm giving it 2.5 stars. It's mediocre. It has some good parts. It has some bad parts, but it averages out straight down the middle. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But I do love how devoted Michelle Pfeiffer was for putting a live bird in her mouth for real and doing it in one take. All right, Darren, what are we doing next week? I have an idea, but I want you to confirm it.
Yes, it is The Wing of Batman. As you mentioned, 1989 established amazing themes that would go on in animated form. We have an amazing time with Eric Radomski and Bruce Timm. We're covering Batman, Mask of the Phantasm from 1993, next on Houselights.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.